Hey guys, happy Thursday and welcome to Tea Time with me, Narita, at 6 p.m. So this time I have a coffee and we'll see how this evening goes. So I needed a little kick earlier today and I was like, why not coffee? So I got some coffee and I usually after my tea times I have so much energy, not usually, always, I have so much energy afterwards. So we'll see where the coffee takes me with the tea time. Hey Maddie! Hey Janet! Welcome! Thank you guys for joining. So I'm so excited because I wanted to share with you guys a chapter of my book. So long story short, I guess, or I don't know if it's a long story at all, but I've been in the works of writing my book for the last 3 years. And I started writing it when I was living in... Maddie said I set an alarm for this. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about this chapter. And if there's nothing to say, that's totally okay. But thank you so much for joining. I miss you. I hope you're doing well. But yeah, I've been writing my book for the last 3 years. And I started before I came back to the States. So I started writing it when I was living abroad. And the book title is called The Vibrant Unknown. And through the last 3 years, there's been blocks, there's been like different experiences, there's been a lot of like doubt and should I add this, should I take away this, or sometimes putting it in the back burner. And recently I met somebody and they're an editor, they're a ghostwriter, they're in this field of the book writing. And I've been working on it like even before I met her, but I had a meeting with her and we worked out well together, so she's going to be editing my book, and now I have like a set date to finish my book by March and giving it to her. And I've been journaling like who I want to edit this book just because I don't want just anybody to edit it. Like I want somebody to also be soulfully aligned and be connected to their higher power and to align with like my intention. So yeah. Maddie said, I miss you, I'm great. Our family moved to Arizona last year. Excited to hear your words. Arizona! How's Arizona going? Hey, cousin! So I found out I have a new family member today that I haven't met, and she's on here. So nice to virtually meet you. Okay, so before I start reading the chapter, I want to share this, and actually my friend Janet got this for me. It's called a 3-minute positivity journal, and I was skimming through it because I haven't like used it at all, and I found this little quote and I wanted to share it with you guys, something to like reflect on for your week. And this is how it goes. Do you ever let your inner child come out and play? Today, hold space for the younger version of yourself. Do something that lets you play, smile, laugh, and have fun. So do that this week for yourself. That's been my intention this year, is to have more fun, to let my inner child come and laugh and play and just have a good time. Okay, so I'm going to read you a little bit of this chapter and a little backstory. So there is 13 chapters already in my book, and from here to March, I'm going to be going through it and just seeing if the chapters still align with me and editing it. And there is certain stuff too that I have notes, like I'll put in a quote from a book that I've read that really made an impact, and I have a little note saying, okay, like go back to the book and make sure this is a quote, or go back to the book and make sure that this aligns with what you want to share. Hey Alex! So that's what I'm doing from here to March. And I was really struggling with my chapter 3 because first chapter is about the whisper in our hearts, the second chapter is about stepping into the unknown and how it transforms into the vibrant unknown. And of course, like I share personal experiences of how I first became aware of the whisper in my heart, and through my writing I also share like, hey, you also have a whisper in your heart. This is how you can give it space. And a little bit of my experience of how it turns into the vibrant unknown. So the third chapter, I wanted to share about rock bottom, how there's a space of course, like the journey and how it's vibrant, and you know, when you follow your heart's whisper and your intuition, it can lead you to like vibrant experiences, vibrant souls in your life, vibrant places, and it'll lead you to the most important person in your life, which is vibrant you. And I also wanted to share like how there's also challenges and there's also a rock bottom, and share my own personal rock bottom. And when it comes to writing a book, like I don't want to share names or go so much into detail of that experience. My intention is not to put whoever was involved down, or to judge them, or to criticize them, or to be a victim. So my chapter 3 was already done, right? Detail of like my rock bottom. And I was trying to play with it, take some stuff out, add some stuff. And the other night I just had this feeling of like, you know what, let's just delete this whole chapter. Delete this whole chapter and start from scratch. And I did. So this is a little bit of what came out, and it's about toxic positivity and how when we are in that space, not only do we deny our experience, our emotional experience as a human being, but we also deny ourselves from actually getting to know ourselves and listening to our heart's whisper. So I'm so excited you guys are here. How exciting. So if you guys have any comments, I'm totally talking out loud. It's the first time that I'm gonna read it after I wrote it. So I'm giving myself an hour a day to write. And yes, I'm just gonna talk out loud and probably edit as I'm saying it. So if you guys have anything that comes up, questions, perspective, just anything would totally help and would totally be appreciated. So you guys are my editors right now. Okay, so let me see. Yes, that is very important. Being the inner child, right? Bringing that out. Okay. So this is how it goes. So chapter 3, and I put intention, because there's also an intention for each chapter. And for this chapter, I put something along the lines how when we don't listen to ourselves, we hit rock bottom doing the work. And this is how it starts. So let me actually put the music down. Okay. So toxic positivity. How many of you, when things got rough through a breakup, losing a job, an argument with a family member, go straight into everything is fine. It was meant to be. I'm okay. I'm happy. Things happen for a reason. Other people have it worse. Good vibes. I'm only focusing on the good vibes. How many of you go on and try your best to stay busy, to stay focused, or to go out, to not think about it or feel it? As humans, we all have at some point. We've been taught to avoid pain, suffering, sadness, to avoid sitting still and feel it, or to rest and ride the wave of grief or confusion. Though we all are trying our best in the way that we only know how, there is another way. A way that took years for me to learn, a way that took a lot of healing, understanding, and time to process and to relearn. As a society, we are wrapped around this idea of always having to be positive, because positive vibes only. We think it's the best way to move forward, to be happy, to experience joy and laughter. We have a judgment within ourselves that we wouldn't want to damper the mood of the social interactions we engage in. We easily label it as bad, or how people, even our loved ones, won't want us around if we show raw feelings. Sometimes it's just hard for us to share because we've learned to simply put it under the rug. We think, even subconsciously, that this type of way or this type of attitude is helping us, that it will help us move forward and enjoy life. If anything, having this type of bubble actually hurts us. It creates more suffering, and it prevents us from stepping into the experience of being a human. This way of being is called toxic positivity. The psychology group in Fort Lauderdale, I think I said that wrong, defines toxic positivity as the excessive and ineffective overgeneralization of a happy, optimistic state across all situations. The process of toxic positivity results in the denial, minimization, and invalidation of the authentic human emotional experience. Unquote. Not only do we deny, minimize, and invalidate our own authentic human emotional experience, but we also deny ourselves from getting to know ourselves much deeply. Getting to know what we like or what we don't like. We deny ourselves from exploring, getting curious, and to learn through the experience. Toxic positivity is a mask that denies us going through the muck, that leads us to beautiful experiences, profound lessons, and moving forward to where we deeply want to be. We are so focused on trying to be okay, trying to put a face that we have it all together, that we rob ourselves from listening to our heart's whispers, our intuition. We are robbing ourselves of what is needed for us to move forward and heal, to experience not only authentic raw feelings, but to also experience raw, authentic laughter and joy from within. And as I'm talking this out loud, I am also going to write in there how we also rob ourselves from experiencing genuine, raw, fulfilling connections. So it's a spectrum. The more we allow ourselves to feel deeply the pain, the suffering, the more there is an opportunity to release them and to make room for more fun, joy, peace, and happiness. One of the things that we can face sometimes when we are wrapped around in toxic positivity is hitting rock bottom. I was the queen of toxic positivity, not giving myself space to feel and to ask myself what I wanted or what I needed, and it led me to rock bottom. So that is it. So that is part of this chapter that I wanted to share with you guys. And I'm going to lead it into my experience of being in the rock bottom. And let's see. Maddie said, I'm definitely at this point in my life, but working through it. It was like I was meant to listen to you. And I don't know, but there's something so special about that. Aww. I'm so glad that you showed up, Maddie. And we can always talk as well. I can always call you or we can message each other. But yeah, I love you too, Maddie. That love has never gone away and it won't go away. But yeah, so I wanted to go forward into talking about the rock bottom. Hey, Mike. So Arizona, and I think he moved to Texas. So little high school gang here. I hope you're doing well. But yeah, so rock bottom, right? I wanted to lead into how being in that space of trying to have it all together, in lying to myself that everything was okay, that everything was in that space of happiness and positive vibes and happy vibes. It's I was denying myself to hear and to listen to myself, to walk away, to see the red flags, to stand up for myself, to use my voice. And in that space, it led me to rock bottom, which is a space in my life where I was in a very toxic relationship and I almost got married, and a month before the wedding, I was I'm done, I'm walking away, and I came back home, and the next couple of months were a space of, what the fuck? What the fuck just happened? What the fuck was that? And going through it and processing and learning through it. A couple months later, I went to Vietnam, and that gave me more of that experience of oh yeah, listening to our heart's whisper can lead us through a life that we want, but that we sometimes feel we can't have or that doesn't exist. But yeah, so let's see. My cousin said yes to finally say this is not me or what I want. Yeah. And that actually became, let me sit up. That actually became such a big thing in my life, which I'm going to add in my book too, or it's already in there, of asking ourselves what we want. And we don't do that. We totally don't do that. And even in the space of listening to our heart's whisper, it's just giving the space for it and the space of what we want, what we need. Because when we're in that space of toxic positivity, or when we're trying to fake of the situation, whoever we're with, I'm sure many of us can relate to being with somebody, dating or friendship wise, where we're trying to protect like their image, their identity, like what they're doing in this friendship, in this relationship. And not only are we lying to like other people, but we're also lying to ourselves. And we're like creating this like image that they're great, that they're loving, that like everything's fine. But it's like deep down, we have those answers. We have that like instinct that tells us like, hey, it's a red flag, walk away. Hey, this is not healthy. And part of it too, it's like it doesn't come with any explanation. It doesn't come with this is why or this is how or do this, and this. It's just a subtle whisper of like, walk away or unhealthy, or it's so subtle. So it's giving us ourselves that space. And it's crazy because asking that question, right? Like what we want or what we need. After this toxic relationship and when I experienced what I experienced, like moving abroad, it was like, okay, what do I want? What do I need? And not worrying about how people are going to feel, not worrying about what they want from me, not worrying about like their own judgments, because I had a strong fear of not being looked at as a good person to other people. So in this situation where I almost got married, the whole time was like, I want to make sure that like his family thinks I'm like a good person. I want to make sure that my family like is okay. I want to make sure that XYZ. And if I would have asked myself and given myself that space of like, what do I want? It wouldn't have gone so deep or so intense as it did. And of course, like our experiences, like we learn and we grow from them, and every experience is needed for where we're at in life. But it's something that I learned that I totally want to share with everybody else. So I think that's where I was going with that. Kind of went a little rant, but let's see. So my cousin said, yeah, I've had experiences where I'm like, wow, that wasn't even me. Yeah, I'm actually just going through that again. Where it's like, what? Like, that's not like me. Like, I would totally speak up in that space. Maddie said, yes, walked away from my toxic first relationship in June, and haven't looked back since. Yeah, one day at a time. Yeah. At that point, we're defending the hurt they're doing to us. Yeah. And it's also like, the question is like, why are we defending them? Like, why are we defending or trying to create this image that they're okay or that they're so good to us? Whoever it is. But from my own experience, like, which again, like I'll talk in the book, there's a whole other chapter with it too, is like I had this deep fear of being alone. And the whole like intention of the book is like I was in a 5-year relationship and I had this like strong ass desire of like, what is it like to be alone? And that was the start of everything. And at the same time, like even though I was learning to be alone and to do things alone, like going to the movies and traveling alone and hiking, like I always had somebody that was emotionally available for me. And that's the part where I was also in a way blindsided within myself. And I also didn't know, so there's like also forgiveness in this journey where sometimes we just don't know. We're not taught to reflect on these things. We're not taught to check in with ourselves, to ask, you know, like ourselves what we want or what we need. But yeah, like the moment that I decided to go abroad, because I tried once before I actually left, but the first time I was like, yes, everything's fine, everything's great, I'm gonna do it, XYZ, like super positive, toxic positivity, not looking at the whole picture of what could happen, or even my fears. I didn't even look at my fears, and I got into this relationship, and it was that space of, oh, it was that fill-in of the fear, right, of me being alone. And when I started asking myself in that space, like, what do I want? It's like, I do want to go abroad. Yes, I'm afraid to be alone. I'm afraid to not have somebody, like, emotionally there. And I'm going to be in another country all of myself. What the fuck? But, yeah, I feel like part of this journey is to look at the whole picture of the good, the bad, everything in between, and then asking ourselves, what do we want? What do we need? So Maddie said, like, why are we defending them and not ourselves? Learning experience. Yeah. Why are we defending them and not ourselves? Yeah, it's what comes up for me, like, reading that is, like, why are we putting ourselves on the back burner? Why aren't we putting ourselves, like, as priority? So Maddie said, honestly, I thought about it, and I'd rather be alone than hurt by someone that told me they loved me when I needed to love myself more. Yeah. Yeah. That's the space where I'm in now, where it's like, oh, I'd rather sit alone in my table than having somebody there that doesn't have good intentions, or that actually isn't good for me. It's kind of like that quote, you know how, like, in relationships, like, you hear that quote where it's like, you're in a relationship and you actually feel alone, so might as well just not be in the relationship and actually feel alone. So, yes, personal forgiveness is so important. Yes, it is. I totally agree. Yeah, and it's part of it too, like, the sessions that I've been having with my own therapist is, like, forgiving myself for also not knowing. Forgiving my older self for being in that space of wanting to be loved, of wanting to be loved and or heard and wanted. And, like, all she knew at the time was to seek it from this other partner, this other opposite sex person. And now it's like, how can I give it to myself? Even in being in a relationship now, it's still that work of, like, how can I be there for myself first and not seek it externally? And it's a journey. Totally a journey. But yeah. So yes, so much good stuff. So if something pops up for you guys after, let me know. Yeah. So to take away, it's like, from this tea time is, like, forgiveness, self-forgiveness is so important. Maddie said, I never thought of it like that. To forgive yourself for what you wanted at one point and didn't add value to you. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes too, like, I've come to realize, like, in the moment of that space, like, maybe that is what we needed, right? Like, one of the perspectives that I have is that everything that happens to us is something to help us grow, to help us learn, to get closer to consciousness, to awareness, to mindfulness, to even God. And sometimes, you know, like, it's a little rough because, you know, like, there's murders and there's, like, rape and there's abuse. And I know that there are people that will argue that, like, okay, well, what about this and what about that? And even in those spaces, I give it to the universe of, like, okay, there might be, like, a reason, or, like, for us to expand, right? Like, for us to, and I think we can choose, either we stay in it and we really become a victim and we let it, like, define us and let us define who we are and how it defines, like, our life and how we're going to move forward, or we can create space to feel it and to be pissed and to be angry and to feel hurt and to be in all of that muck, but then to also release it and to grow from it and to learn and to expand our understanding, to expand our consciousness, to expand, like, our compassion for other people and their pain and their struggles, and to heal. And from my own experience from that space, it's like, oh, when we're in that space, like, we also give more space to, like, have fun and to live and to experience life deeper in all its senses. Kind of like that spectrum, right? Like, the spectrum of, like, the more we feel pain and release it, the more we have room for laughter and fun and joy. So, yeah. My cousin said, growing pains, knowledge, testimonies. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. That is what I wanted to share. Let me know if you guys have anything else you want to add into this chapter so far, or any questions. Maddie, we can totally keep talking. Oh, I was referring to our personal experiences. Oh, like, as our testimonies? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what they are for us. Yeah. And strongly agree that they also turn into like convictions. So when we go through that space, they turn, and the more we do like this inner work or this like reflection and like thought processes, I feel like they turn into like strong ass convictions. Like, you have felt this pain, you have felt this healing, and now you get to know who you are so much more and so much deeper, and there's a conviction of like, nobody else can shake it. I'm so strong for this. So, Maddie said, thank you so much for sharing all of this and being so vulnerable. Thank you, Maddie. The things we go through, our growing pains, etc. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Maddie, I'd love to keep talking. I'll be in California in March to be in a wedding. Yes, and maybe we can get some tea or coffee. Yes, yes, yes. Let me know and we'll set up like a date. I'd love to catch up with you. We haven't seen each other in years, so I'd love to catch up. My cousin said, I've helped a lot of people with things I have went through. Yeah. They can also help, right? Like, it totally, the way that I've learned is like hearing other people's stories, which is why like the tea time, like my book writing, like the speaking is like, I've learned so much from other people's experiences, and when they share, sometimes it's like, oh my God, yes, like I felt that. So it's like, I would love to be that space for others. Aw, I love you too. Nice to virtually meet you. I love you. We'll also have to meet up when I go up to Visalia. And when you come to California. I think you said you were in Georgia. Maddie said, I know, it will be a 10-year high school reunion. Oh my God. That's crazy. Time fucking flies. Alex says, healing happens in connection. Yes, I agree. Which Alex, by the way, will be joining sometime in my tea time. I want to have him on here. Okay, guys. Much, much love. Thank you guys so much for joining, and thank you so much for commenting and for sharing. So much more to take to write. And I'll probably do this more often while I come here, and like I'll share what I just wrote, because it also helps me reflect and add more into my book. So, love you guys. Thank you. Have a good night. Mwah. Kisses. Oh, also, remember to do something this week to bring out your inner child. Okay? Something fun, something that will bring joy and laughter. Okay? Much love.